Right now, we are heading to William Tell's Museum, which is located inside this tower called Wilhelm Turm. We are here in the Tell Museum in Burglen, Switzerland. This is dedicated to the Swiss folk hero William Tell. If you don't know who he is, this music you will hear is dedicated to him and named after him, the William Tell Overture. Now you know, let me tell you the well-known legend of this man, based on Agidius Chudi's version, and later we'll learn where the story came from. According to the legend, William Tell, or Wilhelm Tell, was known as a strong man and an expert shot with the crossbow. He is a native of Burglen Uri, in the Schehental. In his time, the House of Habsburg's emperors of Austria were seeking to dominate Uri, and Tell became one of the conspirators of Werner Stauffacher, who vowed to resist Habsburg rule. Albrecht Gessler was the new appointed Austrian advocate of Altdorf, Switzerland. He raised a pole under the village linden tree, hung his hat on top of it, and demanded that all the townsfolk bow before it. On November 18, 1307, Tell visited Altdorf with his young son. He passed by the hat but publicly refused to bow to it, and was consequently arrested. Gessler was intrigued by Tell's famed marksmanship, but resentful of his defiance, so he devised a cruel punishment. Tell and his son were both to be executed. However, he could redeem his life by shooting an apple off the head of his son Walter in a single attempt. Tell split the apple with a bolt from his crossbow. Gessler then noticed that Tell had removed 2 crossbow bolts from his quiver, so he asked why. Tell was reluctant to answer, but Gessler promised that he would not kill him. So Tell replied that had he killed his son, he would have killed Gessler with the second bolt. Gessler was furious and ordered Tell to be bound, saying that he had promised to spare his life, but would imprison him for the remainder of his life. The story goes that Tell was being carried in Gessler's boat to the dungeon in the castle of Kuschnoch when a storm broke on Lake Lucerne, and the guards were afraid that their boat would sink. They begged Gessler to remove Tell's shackles so that he could take the helm and save them. Gessler gave in, but Tell steered the boat to a rocky place and leaped out. This site is known as the Tellsplatte, or Tell's Lab. It has been marked by a memorial chapel since the 16th century, and we will be visiting that later. Tell ran cross-country to Kuschnacht with Gessler in pursuit. Tell assassinated him using the second crossbow bolt along a stretch of the road cut through the rock between Imensi and Kuschnacht, which is known as the Holy Gasse. Tell's axe sparked a rebellion which led to the formation of the Old Swiss Confederacy. Tell fought again against Austria in 1315 at the Battle of Morgarten. Tell died in 1354. He was killed trying to save a child from drowning in the Schehental River in Uri. Now you know the story, Let's get on with the history. The history of the legend. The legend of William Tell appears first in the 15th century in two different versions. The first reference to Tell, without his name, appears in the White Book of Cernen, written around 1474 by Hans Riber. It mentions the Rutli oath and names Tell as a minor character and one of the conspirators of the Rutli, whose heroic tyrannicide triggered the Bürglen rebellion. An equally early account of Tell is found in the Tellinlied, a song composed in the 1470s in the Chronicles of Melchior Rus, with its oldest extant manuscript copy dating to 1501. All these early written accounts focus on Tell's confrontation with Gessler with different versions. The ballad mentions that Gessler had wanted to have Tell drowned in the lake, and that Tell shot Gessler immediately after having escaped instead of at Kushnacht. Similarly, variability exists concerning Tell's later life, of which the classic tale does not elaborate. Agidus Schudis, writing around 1570, presents an extended version of the legend. Still essentially based on the account in the White Book, Tschudi adds more detail. But he is known to be habitually have fleshed out his sources. Such additional detail includes Tell's given name, Wilhelm, the precise date of the apple shot, November 18, 1307, as well as the account of Tell's death in 1354, while trying to save a child from drowning. It is Tschudis version that became influential in the early modern Switzerland and entered the public consciousness as the William Tell legend. The story of the great hero successfully shooting a small object from his child's head and then killing the tyrant who forced him to do it. But this kind of story is present in several Germanic myths. Legacy. Up to this day, historians still argue about the validity of William Tell, and through time, most believe that he is a fable and nothing more. But it didn't stop Tell's popularity. The French Revolutionary fascination with Tell found its reflection back in Switzerland, with the establishment of the Helvetic Republic. Tell became the mascot of the short-lived republic, his figure being featured in its official seal. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe learned of the Tell saga during his travels through Switzerland. He got hold of a copy of Tschudis Chronicles and considered writing a play about Tell. Ultimately, he gave the idea to his friend Friedrich von Schiller, who in 1803 wrote the play Wilhelm Tell. Schiller's Tell is heavily inspired by the political events in the late 18th century and the French Revolution in particular. Gioacchino Rossini, in turn, used the play as the basis for his 1829 opera William Tell. And so, the William Tell Overture is one of his best-known pieces of music, and has become widely used in popular culture. John Wilkes Booth, the assassin of Abraham Lincoln, was inspired by Tell. Lamenting the negative reaction to his deed, Booth wrote in his journal on April 21, 1865, where he mentioned William Tell as a hero. There is also a monument to Tell, following a national competition won by the submission of Richard Kissling. The town of Altdorf in 1895 erected the monument to its hero. Hisling cast Tell as a peasant and man of the mountains. With strong features and muscular limbs, his powerful hand rests lovingly on the shoulder of little Walter. So now we know the legend of William Tell and where he came from. Later, we will be visiting several sites dedicated to him. And if you want to know more about it, check out the description below. But now, let us look inside his museum. The Tell Museum is housed in the Wattigwiller Tower in Burglen's Bosplatz, in the village in which William Tell is said to have lived. The tower is one of the 4 that feature in Burglen's municipal coat of arms. The entrance area of the Tell Museum introduces visitors to the idea of heroism and its significance for society. The original idea has been to merely document the history of the Tell's chapel in town, and the story of its renovation in 1949 to 50. Out of this grew in 1956 the Uri Tell Museum Society, which had the purpose of collecting, storing, and preserving documents, objects, and historical, artistic, and traditional depictions of William Tell, as well as of events connected to the founding history of the Swiss Confederacy. The lounge is where you can meet Tell culturally, for example, through the words of Schiller, the Tellenlied, or Song of Tell, or the music of Rossini. The middle floor contains the unusual compartmentalized wooden box featuring a variety of objects from art, politics, tourism, historical research, society, and advertising, all centered on the Tell myth. They chart how the perception of Tell has evolved over a period of 600 years. Part of the exhibition is dedicated to the work of Ernest Stugelberg, the Basel painter responsible for the 4 great frescoes of the Tell's Chapel on the Urner See section of Lake Lucerne. The top floor presents a film installation that brings together the various Tell strands by way of conclusion to the exhibition, from the origins of the Tell myth to Tell's significance in selected phases of Swiss history. So now, we all know about William Tell and his significance in Swiss culture and history. Next, we will be visiting another site dedicated to him. Alright, until next time, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Bye! So guys, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel. And feel free to comment.
Hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell. Come on, guys, hit the bell.
For notifications.
And don't forget to share.
And